Yeah, I had no idea that Sega was still doing those kind of ads back when they had the Sega Saturn on the market. It's similar to their Genesis does what Nintendo ads, but the reason that worked for them was that Sega Genesis was superior to the NES in hardware specs, and also had a mature slant. So yeah, it did do what Nintendo, but here they're trying to convince consumers that the Sega Saturn is somehow a stronger console because it has two processors, which isn't the case, and it's more of a hindrance because developers prefer just one processor, not one. It's no wonder the system didn't do very well. Anyway, good evening, guys. Hope you all had a good work week, and also Merry Christmas. If you haven't noticed, it is Merry Christmas Eve, and I have no shame in saying that because it is time for Christmas. I think it's okay to say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays, though it is also going to be Kwanzaa later in this week, so I guess Happy Kwanzaa too. But anyway, for the past month, we've been going through a couple of games that typically tend to bring the Christmas season in mind for me. And so Diddy Kong Racing, Banjo, and now it's time for the one game that I always end up playing around this time of year, and that's Nights into Dreams. This game was released in, what was it, 1996, and was created by Sonic Team. Sonic Team, of course, are the minds behind the Sonic games on the Genesis. And the idea for Nights actually originated during their development of Sonic 2. They have this idea for a game similar to Sonic that would be based around flight. But they were busy with Sonic at the time, so they decided to shelve it for the time. But after 4 games in the Sonic series, they were ready to try something new. So they set their sights on the Saturn and began developing on Nights, which wasn't necessarily a rough development cycle, but it was a tricky one. This was the dawn of 3D graphics, so they of course had to figure out how that was going to work. They of course had to work with the Saturn's the wonky system hardware with the 2 processors and everything, which made it very difficult to program for, but that's a whole nother can of worms. And really just coming up with a design that would be unique from Sonic, but would still have a pretty wide appeal to it. And eventually what we got with was Nights, which was a critical and commercial success upon its release. But a critical and commercial success on the Sega Saturn is really just a modest success by the rest of the industry. The Sega Saturn was a 3rd place console, and it was trailing pretty far behind the Nintendo 64 and especially the PlayStation, which is why Sega would end up abandoning it to go to the Dreamcast a lot earlier than they should have, and would eventually leave hardware altogether. But despite that, Nights would still live on. The next several games by Sonic Team would have a lot of references to Nights. And because of that, people my age probably were introduced to Nights as probably a character in the Sonic series, but the character actually had its own game. I wouldn't play the game until 2014, I would say, and I remember playing it for the first time and liking it, but not really understanding what was so special about it. But the more I thought about it, I did start to realize that there was something really interesting about Nights, and that's probably why it resonated with so many people. So I'm actually really looking forward to playing it for you guys, and there is a reason that I do play this game every year. You're probably going to see it as soon as I boot up the game. So let's go ahead and get started. And I apologize for all the creepy Sega Saturn ads. They really had a bad marketing team in those days. So do a quick sound check. And there is a reason that I do play. Alright, let's go ahead and play. So what version of the game I'm playing? I'm playing the HD version of the game that was released, I want to say 2011, I think it was. And this is basically an updated version of the PlayStation 2 release, which was Japan only for some reason. So it's got nicer graphics in addition to the option to play with the old Saturn graphics as well. So if you want to play Knights, this is the version I recommend. Though if you want to play it on the Saturn, there's nothing wrong with that either. Assuming you can get a Saturn, assuming you can get a Saturn, it's not a terribly expensive game for the console, so there's no harm in playing it that way. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Why does a Peggy always show up here? This game every year, you're probably going to see
17.
Right out of the gate, I'm getting sort of a Peter Pan vibe to this, which I think was the intention. So, Knights is themed after dreams, and just with the music and the way the character looks, I am sort of getting that vibe here. That's some decent CGI for the time, too. And yeah, as you could probably see, there is a reason I play this every year for Christmas. So, one of the interesting things about the Sega Saturn was it was one of the first consoles to have an internal clock in it, so you would enter your time into the console when you first get it, and it would keep track of that throughout the years. So on Christmas, around that time, certain parts of the game would change, and you would have a music theme to a Christmas theme to it. They also had a bit where on April Fool's Day, you would replace Knights with Reala, which is interesting. What do we have here? I've never seen this before. Oh. So they do have story bits. I always thought that was at the end of the game. I can't believe I've never seen this before. You learn something new every day. I'll talk about that here in a second. Let's go ahead and get into the game itself. Okay, so one of the big draws of this HD remaster is, in addition to the new graphics, you also have the option to play through it with the old Saturn graphics, which, for something like this, where all you're doing is just updating the graphics, I feel that should be a standard feature, because all too often you see, especially recently, games coming out with these remastered graphics, and then when that comes out, they delist the original version. So stuff like Warcraft, Sonic Origins, and GTA Definitive Edition. Don't do that. Either leave the original versions up on the storefront or include the option to play through it with the old graphics. It's not that hard. Anyway, we're going to start with the Saturn graphics just so you guys can see what it looked like back in the day. And in regards to the story, so essentially the plot of Knights is it centers around two characters, Clarice and Elliot here. And the two are children who are experiencing some hard times. So Clarice has a big audition coming up. She's really nervous about that. And Elliot has a big basketball game against some older kids with his friends. So they're very anxious about that. So they start having nightmares. But they discover they have this weird power to escape from their own dreams and go to a place called Nightopia. It's there they meet a rogue nightmare of sorts by the name of Knights, who attempted to defeat a villain by the name of Wise Man the Wicked, but was defeated and imprisoned for his troubles. So Clarice and Elliot realize that they can sort of merge with Knights and allow him to escape from this gazebo that he's trapped in, so that he can continue to fight Wise Men. So, as you probably noticed, I had never seen that intro cutscene before. Why they didn't have any story beats before you start the first mission, I have no idea. But it does leave the game to feel sort of hollow in regards to story, at least at the start. But anyway, enough with the talking. But there's one more thing I need to comment on, and that's in regards to how I refer to Knights. One of the things about Knight's character is that the character was designed to be androgynous, and Knights itself is non-binary. So, in the past I've always referred to Knights as an it because what it's supposed to be is sort of an amalgamation of our collective consciousness. It's essentially a figment of our collective imagination. But in recent years, I've sort of come to understand that that's an offensive way to refer to non-binary people. So I contacted a friend of mine who is also non-binary. I think that's possible. I apologize if I got that wrong, Star. And they told me that it's actually okay to refer to Knights as it. There actually are some people who prefer that. But I needed to make sure that by doing that everyone knows I'm not saying that as a derogatory term for non-binary people. That's just what I feel is most appropriate for Knights as a character in regards to what it is. But if you guys think I'm wrong on that, please call me out on that, because while I'm sort of indifferent to that kind of thing, it's also not my intention to be offensive. So if it is offensive to refer to Knights like that, please let me know, and I will not do it in the future. Alright, let's go ahead and play. Man, that character model looks wonky. It's like a marionette. Okay, so we start playing the game, and immediately we're attacked by monsters who steal these orbs from you. That's okay, because Knights is right here. We walk up to him, and suddenly we're controlling Knights instead. Okay, so Knights is often referred to as a 3D platformer, but that really is an inaccurate statement, because not only is the game 2.5D, meaning it's a 3D game that takes place on a 2D plane, but there actually isn't any platforming involved. This is strictly a flying game. So it's more fitting to call it a 3D action game, a 2.5 action game. So essentially the goal of the game here is to recollect these orbs, and how you do that is when you take control of Knights, you find yourself flying around on a track. And on the tracks are these things called cages. But in order to get at the cages and get at the gem that was stolen, you need to find these things called chips, which will be floating around on the track. That's what these things are right here. So you collect 15 of those, and once you do that, then you can get the gem. Then you fly back to the gazebo, and when you do that, the track will shift. So I'm about to do that right here. I got one gem. So now my flight path has changed. Now I need to start from scratch. In regards to the... It's simple and easy to understand, which has always been a trademark of a Sonic team. That's just how they like to make games. But there's also quite a bit of complexity to it if you want to master the game's mechanics. Like, you would think that would just be based on speed or flying through these rings here. But that's not actually what you need to do if you want to max out your score. If you want to max out your score, you want to get the gems as quickly as possible. And then while you're on that track, go through it again and actually start collecting the chips before you go to the gazebo. If you do that and do it fast, then you'll actually get more points that way. It's easy to play but difficult to master. In regards to how it plays, I mean, it's just fantastic. So you control knights with your analog stick, and all you really gotta do is just point the joystick in the direction you want to go, and knights will automatically fly there. And like, just the feeling you get from it is fantastic. So like, you do a loop-de-loop, you actually do that movement on the joystick, and that just feels really satisfying to do. Of course, there are layers to it, in addition to, in addition to being able to fly around, Knights can also increase his speed with that spin move I just did. And when you do that, Knights actually picks up a little bit of speed. But there's a physics to it. When you pick up that speed, when you hit that button, you don't immediately jump to light speed. Knights actually has to accelerate. And as he's accelerating, he can plow through enemies. Now, when you let off that button, Knights will actually hang on to a little bit of that speed. And that's a good thing, because that allows you to perform his other primary form of offense, which is the paraloop. You may have noticed that I'm often doing circles around enemies and the chips and collecting and or killing them. In doing so, you can see there, Knights is actually leaving a trail as he flies, and if you can intercept with that trail before it disappears, then he'll perform what's called a paraloop that creates a vortex that basically kills anything caught inside of it. So there actually is a bit of a benefit to flying around and performing those acrobatics. It's just really clever design. Okay, one more track and then we can move on to the boss fight. Not doing a very good job here. Just a little tricky talking about this while also playing the game. Yeah, you see how I did a paraloop there? Like, I really cannot emphasize enough how much fun it is to control Knights in this game. It just feels really good to fly around. The whole idea with this game was they wanted to give players the sense of freedom in flight. And one would think that would be a little limited by the fact that you're restricted to a 2D plane. But if anything, it just keeps the game simple without overcomplicating things. When they were developing this game, they actually originally intended to have a fully 3D camera, but as development progressed, they realized that they just couldn't figure out how to get that to work and have it be fun. So they decided to restrict it to a 2D plane just to keep it simple. Which sounds like a bad thing, but it does work. Now we got our first boss here. Some kind of card shark, I guess. This guy getting close. Ah, I had him. Knights doesn't really have a health bar, but you can only take so much damage before keeling over. Ah, this guy's a little tricky. I know how to defeat the other bosses, but this one always gives me trouble. There we go. Like, the music at Knights is also fantastic. I've always described it as sort of a jazzy lullaby, which is good for two reasons. One, because it enhances the dreamlike atmosphere, but also because it's good for an action game too. And it's also funny how the high score before you actually start playing has Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, all those characters in there. That's funny. Alright, let's get a move on here. I want to try to finish this whole game before it's time to call it a night. This may actually end up going a bit longer too, because like, I may end up talking a bit more than I should about certain things. Anyway, second verse is same as the first. I'll try to pick up the speed here. Each level does have unique aspects to it for Knights to interact with, which is good because otherwise I feel like the game could have gotten repetitive really fast. Not that it would matter if it did, because Knights is honestly a really short game. You can actually finish this game in one sitting if you know what you're doing. Nah. Just go for the gazebo rather than points this time. Sorry, I get bounced around here. Up and down, all around. Here we go. Yeah, definitely pick up the pace here, aren't I? Yeah, the more I play this game, the more I realize it really is for the best that it was limited to a 2D plane, because I don't think it would be anywhere near as much fun if you're constantly having to worry about, you know, what direction you were headed to. Just does wonders for the game's pace. It's cool how they have stuff for you to interact with too. Like this right here. Don't want to spend too much time here. I am on the clock. I still find myself subconsciously going for points. Ah man, I'm short one. I think I'll avoid going in there this time. I'm gonna have to book. Man, I missed it. Yeah, you can only boost for a certain amount of time. But odds are you're not going to run out before the time expires. Oh, that was close. Yeah, with those loops, you gotta be sure you're going through them at a certain speed, or else you're gonna get spiked. You don't really have a health bar in Knights, but like your health is essentially the time limit. If you get hit, you lose time, and you also get slowed down, so you lose even more time. So you really gotta keep moving. I got a free roaming section. Again, different perspective change, but still operating on primarily a 2D plane. There's a cage, get this while I'm here. I think these rings lead you out. Really don't have to fly through the rings, but they do give you points, and it's just really satisfying to do so. Alright, what boss am I facing here? The bosses are randomized, by the way. That's another fun touch. Ah, Riala. Knight's sibling? Again, Knights is a nightmare that went rogue. Not a lot to do here, you just kind of have to keep doing paraloops until Riala runs into one. Easier said than done, though. There we go. Pick up a little bit of speed. Ah, only took 2 hits. How pathetic. Like, even right now, I don't really have to do anything, just flying around to the credits. It's just fun to do and watch Knights twist and turn. I really like Knights' design, too. Generally, I'm not a big fan of androgynous character designs, because... this probably is going to sound wrong, but it just always looks a little too fruity. That's part of why I don't like the look of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But Knights has a nice balance. Like, you look at it, and the first thing you would think is that it's a male character, and some people even refer to Knights as him. In the Archie comic they did, they identified him as male. But if you take a closer look at the character, you realize there's some feminine aspects of it too, which only was heightened when they eventually gave knights a voice. So, yeah. Really good design, and the purple color palette's really appealing too. Character really does a good job standing apart from Sonic. I really hope I'm not being offensive with how I'm talking here. Soft Museum. This is always my favorite level. At first I wondered why you always have to start the game like this, but there is a reason for it that you'll see in the next level. Alright, let's fly. Yeah, the main gimmick of this level is that the ground around you is made out of rubber. Which means that if you hit just right, it'll send you flying the other way, which you can use to build up momentum. Which is really fun design. Ah, there's the gazebo again. Ah, still missing some. I think that's enough. Yep. You can fly back to the gazebo. And you don't have to fly left to right either. Just go which way is faster. See, I didn't do very good there, so... Yeah, just get into the next track faster isn't necessarily the key. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Yeah, we'll just move on. Up and down, all around. Cannonball! I wonder if that's what Sonic always feels like. Trying to think when I first became aware of knights. I want to say it was probably Sonic Adventure DX now that I think about it. Alright, where to now? Really is so much fun playing this. Just goes to show how much depth you can get out of simple controls. And I'm going to say something about the controls here in a second once I finish this level, because there is another funny story about the developmental history of this game. Still missing some. now, running out of time. Might be best if I get a move on. Ah! See, I heard Knight speak there for a second. Alright, who am I fighting now? Ah, this guy. Alright, so this one's pretty simple. He's in the middle. Just gotta wait for him to line up with these cameras, and then hit him like that. A little hard to see if he's really lined up with you or not. You kind of have to guess. Ah. He's BSing me right now. Kinda bothers me that it goes belly up though, I don't know why. Oh, steady little. There we go. That's again just taking advantage of the 2D plane while also still making use of 3D graphics. When this came out, if you tried to use 2D graphics, odds are your game would have gotten negative reviews for that alone, because 2D graphics were seen as very passé and dated at the time. It's funny to think that 20 years after, we now praise 2D games from the time period because they've just held up so much better than a lot of the 3D games that came out at the time. And Knight's a good example of why. Very simple, easy to understand design, but because of how simple it is, it's just held up better naturally. Alright, last level with Clarice, then we're going to switch to Elliot. Switch to the new graphics for that. Alright, go get Knights. But unfortunately, Wise Man wants to play dirty. And what on earth am I to do now? Well, only one thing to do at this point. Cannonball! I believe I can fly! I actually do have something to talk about with this, but I want to save it for when I finish up with Elliot's story too. Getting bounced around by balloons. God, it's a strange statement. This level does operate on a different set of rules, though. Aside the fact you can't do the paraloop here, your clock doesn't reset either, so you kind of have to go as fast as you can. Yeah. Really like that music too. Forgot to hold the button. Not good, not good. Yeah, I might have screwed this one up. See if I can still pull this off. Alright, where is that cage? There it is. Ha! Made it! 11 seconds to spare. Now we gotta break Knights out. Can't do it alone. Here comes Elliot. Now we fight Wise Man the Wicked. And we both turn into knights, that's a little weird. Oh, what's up, Black Doom? Whoa. Gogula! Just gotta avoid his attacks and fly into him. Not a lot much to it. Hey, stop bouncing me around. There you go. You gotta wait for Elliot to catch up with you. This one that's a little tricky to get past. You gotta go through the center here, which unfortunately I missed. It's hard to find that spot where you can get through it. So yeah, I could have swore I went through the center there. But now he's going to go back a bit. Just fine by me, because this makes things a lot easier. Kind of an unsatisfactory boss fight, but I'll talk about that more here soon. And I did not like the way Knights is looking at me there. She wakes up, remembers her audition. Just like she imagined. Just... Yeah, blown away. It almost sounds like it's an instrument and not actually someone's voice. Is that someone's voice or is that synthesized? I can't tell. Alright, so what do you guys think about that while I'm playing through Elliot's stuff? I guess I don't have to. I thought I had to play through both sets to get this ending. It's weird how there's no one in this theater. It's actually very nice. Okay, so I guess I don't have to wait until I finish Elliot's stuff in order to talk about this. So I said earlier that when I first started playing Knights, like, I liked it, but I didn't understand what the big deal with it was. This is one of those games that a lot of people cite as one of their absolute favorites. And it wasn't until I actually saw this ending that it actually clicked with me, because it's where I actually realized what the game is about. It's honestly debatable if the nightmare creatures and all that stuff that you're dealing with in the game are actually relevant to anything, or if it's just something the kids dreamed up. Because really what the game is about is Elliot and Clarice dealing with their own anxieties. Like, they're young, they have dreams, they have ambitions, but they're also anxious about how other people are going to react to that. Like, are people going to think that Clarice has a beautiful singing voice? Does Elliot actually have it in him to beat these kids? And that sort of plays into where they might be in the future, be it a professional singer or a pro basketball player. But because the anxieties they have, like, there's a chance they might not even take that shot. So they go into the dreams and they meet knights who also may reinforce that too, because it is someone who attempted to rise up and defend something that it thought was right, and it failed. So it sort of gives you a sense that maybe Knights may inadvertently be placing doubts in Clarice and Elliot's mind. And that's why that last bit in the last level is so significant, because what they have to do there is not rely on Knights, they actually have to fight wise men themselves. And it's just like them, in reality, putting themselves forward and taking a shot at bringing their dreams to life. We often call that a leap of faith, and that's essentially what you have to take at that last level. And that can be scary, and believe me, no one knows that better than me. Just because you really want something, just because it's your absolute dream, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to work out for you. But it's never going to work out for you, period, if you don't give it a shot. And I feel like that's reflective in the game itself, but also in its creation as well. Knights wasn't something that Sega needed at the time. What Sega needed was another Sonic game, because the Sega Saturn was floundering. It desperately needed some star power, but everyone at Sonic Team wanted to make Knights, and they did so probably knowing that it was never going to be as successful as Sonic, and it never was. There was only ever one Knights game. There was a sequel in 2010, but that sort of, lost a lot of the subtext that I'm talking about here. But even though it was never as successful as Sonic the Hedgehog, we're still talking about it. Like, I'm talking more about the game right now than I typically do, because it's just what I think about when I think of Knights. That's part of why I have such high respect for this game, even though it's not one of my favorites. I've always believed that a video game can be a legit piece of art, and Knights is one of my go-to examples of that. The story itself, when you think about it, actually is rather brilliant. The art design is great, the music is beautiful, and on top of that, it's still fun to play. There's still a lot of fun to be had playing Knights, which is rare for a lot of artistic games. I mean, think about Death Stranding. That's made by Hideo Kojima. He thought that was going to be his great big magnum opus, and thematically it's brilliant, but it is such a lousy video game. But Knights, thematically brilliant, artistically brilliant. I highly recommend it if you haven't played it. It's on Steam. The winter sale is going on right now. You could probably get it for maybe $5 right now if you really wanted to. And let me tell you, it's money well spent. Alright, before we leave tonight, we're going to go through a Christmas night stream. We're going to skip Elliot's stuff because, I gotta leave something for you guys to play. I want you guys to play this yourself too. She's laying down to go to sleep again. And as for what Knights represents, to me he's basically any inspiration you find as an artist or athlete or whatever. Someone like Stan Lee or the guys in Rush, or maybe Muhammad Ali, for example. Someone you just see going out there and doing something amazing and striving to be like that too. Man, I'm getting really freaking philosophical tonight. What the heck is going on here?
The city is covered with Christmas decorations. And people are looking for presents for their loved ones.
I do like this artwork here. Very picture book-esque.
They all look rushed. That gentleman, that lady, that old man. Why do they have to walk that fast?
Never noticed this before, but look at the eyes.
In the crowd, they feel something important is missing. The streets look so beautiful. This is the most cheerful time of the year. But it seems like nobody is paying any attention to something important.
Doesn't that sound familiar?
They find themselves in the middle of Twin Seeds City, facing the mammoth Twin Seeds Tower. It is decorated beautifully, and the tower appears as one huge Christmas tree. However, they realize what is missing from the Christmas spirit. The one thing nobody seems to notice. There is no shiny star atop the gigantic Christmas tree.
Of course.
The tree is incomplete.
Even though the tree is actually a giant skyscraper. It's hokey, but it's Christmas. It's always a little hokey. It's here you see the updated graphics, and I think you can see a difference with these character models as is. They actually look like proper, characters. So what exactly is Christmas Nights? Well, as I said, when it was Christmas, the graphics would change, knights would have a different costume, and the delightful themes would change a little bit to be more Christmas themed. But later on, they released something called Christmas Nights, which was a small little CD that they sent to anyone who bought Knights during the holiday season, and it would have this storyline integrated into it. So it's just a fun little bonus to people who had supported the game. That's actually become a collector's item, which is really good, which makes this collection all the more better, because now you don't have to pay a premium to play it. And we're going to start with Elliot this time. Now tell me that doesn't put you in the Christmas spirit. And yeah, these graphics look a lot better than the Saturn, don't they? Now, it's not to say that the Saturn game itself looks bad. It looks pretty damn good, actually. All things considered. The Saturn was infamously hard to develop for because of its dual process system. And it was designed more for 3D than it was for 2D than it was 3D. So the fact that Knights was able to look as good as it did while also running like a dream is a testament to the work and talent that Sonic Team were willing to put in back in those days. They definitely don't make them like this anymore. I don't think much of the original Knights team is even with Sonic Team anymore. I know Yuji Naka's not with them anymore. He screwed the pooch with what's it called? Balan Wonderworld. And in addition to that, got himself into some legal trouble, I heard. I remember when that happened, someone asking me if I was still going to support the Sonic series. And I was honestly confused when they asked that, because even though Yuji Naka played a big hand in the creation of Sonic, the creation of Sonic was more a collaborative effort, so there's a lot more people involved than just him. And even if that was the case, I would still love Sonic, because I am capable of separating a creator from their work. Yeah, basically the same game, just with a fun Christmas theme, but, it's fun. There aren't many games I can think of that have a Christmas theme. So it's nice to have this to play around the holiday season. It actually does speak on something, probably not as effectively as what I was talking about earlier, but still something that I think reigns true. A timeless message, I guess you could say. Even the Nighttopians are dressed up in Christmas. It does make sense that it would be like this. Nightopia is conjured from our collective unconscious. And, like, you always hear the saying, visions of sugar plums dancing in their head. Like, that's how excited kids get about Christmas. They dream about it. It's probably why they decided to do this in the first place. It actually works with knights. If you do this with Sonic, it'd probably come off as a little silly. Speaking of Sonic, in the original Saturn release of the game, you could actually unlock Sonic to play as a character in some of the levels, which was Sonic Team sort of experimenting with what they could do with 3D technology on the Saturn. They were planning to make a Sonic game, but of course, the Saturn sucked, so they ended up moving what they had in mind to the Dreamcast. We're going to be talking more about that when next we visit the Sonic series, because we are going to be looking at the bulk of his time on the Saturn. And really, I could talk for hours about everything that went wrong with the Sega Saturn. It's such an interesting topic. That's why I ended up buying one, because like there's just so many weird, interesting gems on the thing. I say it sucks, but that's only in regards to it being hard to program for. And this PS2 port, man, it just looks so good. Even today, this looks fantastic. I have no idea why they decided to leave this in Japan. From what I understand, Nice is actually very popular in the States. Again, not as popular as Sonic, but come on. No way Knights is going to be as popular as Sonic. No offense, Sonic Team. It's just kind of fact. Where is that stupid cage? Run out of time. There it is. I gotta book it now. Now we fight a boss. Kinda weird that I'm going to fight in a Christmas game though. I think you only fight a specific boss in this one. Ooh, I love that jam. Not a lot to this one, you just gotta hit his soft underbelly. You know, avoid the teeth. There's a way you can speedrun this boss in particular if you can paraloop his tail. But I don't feel like trying that right now. Or maybe I can do it right here. Nope. Screw it. Eh. Hey, it looks funny without his tail, doesn't he? That guy wasn't worth the trouble. Might not even have to do Claris's bit here. I don't think I will. This is good. This is wrapping up quite nicely.
With the help of knights, Elliot and Claris found the star, shining in 7 colors. But the entire story was a dream. So, what was that star? They don't talk about the dream they saw. But there is one thing both of them know. Something special will happen after they embark on an adventure with knights.
His life is flashing before his eyes.
They start feeling cheerful again.
What's that? What's with that lady in the pink?
And now happiness, like the light of a small candle, starts filling the city once again. Everything is okay now. Give a star of happiness to the heart of these brave children. Give a star of happiness to the heart of everyone. Merry Christmas.
Aww. So, yeah, it kind of does speak to some timeless stuff regarding the holidays. And it's something I've really been thinking about lately. I've honestly had a hard time getting excited for the Christmas season this year. And primary reason for it is, like when you're a kid, you get real excited about Christmas because of the presents, the specials on TV, and stuff like that. But as you get older and you really start to see how corporatized Christmas has become and how stupid certain groups of people tend to get about it, you know, the people who deride it as like a soulless corporate entity, or people who view the harmless greeting of happy holidays as an attack on the Christian faith. It can be hard to really care. But in spite of that, I'm still excited for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day tomorrow. Not really because I'm getting presents tomorrow or anything like that. I could honestly care less about what's under the tree for me this year, for really the past couple of years. I'm just happy that I get to go spend time with my family, have fun with my brothers, do fun stuff with my mom and dad, maybe see some relatives. And this year's actually going to be pretty special because, like, my older brother's girlfriend is joining us, her family is too. And that's sort of a big step because, you know, that's usually when you realize that the relationship is getting pretty serious. So, my Christmas may actually be getting ready to change here soon, adding more people to it. And to me, that's just more exciting than whatever gift people have. And you know what? It also makes all the hard work I've been putting in at my job worth it too, because now I can actually afford to buy nice presents for my family. Like, I was able to spend like over $500 on gifts this year, and it was a little more than a drop in the bucket for me. I've still got plenty of money to spare. And I'm really excited to see the looks on everyone's faces when they open my stuff. So yeah, I know it's a message you've heard time and time again, but that's really where the magic of Christmas lies, not really so much in all the corporate BS that you tend to see in life. And I feel like this is sort of indicative of that, because they didn't really make any money off of Christmas nights. They made money off of nights, and Christmas nights was essentially just a thank you to everyone who played it, which you kind of have to give them credit for. There's the reason I like to play this every year for Christmas, and that's precisely why. It's just really fun. It gets you into the spirit of things. And again, that's why I hold nights in such high regard. It actually does, you know, make you think about things. Which I think you know something is art when it does that, when you start to talk about it. But anyway, I haven't got anything left to say, so we're going to go ahead and call it for the night. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's content. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do these videos every week, typically at Saturday at 8 o'clock. And what I do is I pick a game, play for an hour, and just talk about it. I don't always go this deep. Nights just tends to have that effect on me, and like the Christmas stuff also gets me speaking too. So if you found that off-putting, please know I don't always do that, and the next video I do is probably going to be a little more fun since it's just going to be a game I intend to play with friends. But if you do enjoy watching me talk about this stuff, be sure to like and subscribe. I do have every intention of doing more. But anyway, you guys all have a good night. Have a Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa, and a Happy New Year. And now for the awkward bit of me turning off the video.